My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week, I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? To kick off the Unstoppable podcast, I've put together a very special 10-part series designed to help you to achieve your most adventurous goals this year. Each episode within this series will contain specific lessons to help you become unstoppable in business and life. And the first 5 episodes are available for download right now on iTunes and Stitcher. So please make sure you subscribe to the show to get the full 10-part series. Welcome to episode 4 of this 10-part series. I hope you're enjoying the Unstoppable podcast so far and getting great value. In the last episode, we looked at how self-doubt can hold us back, and I shared 5 strategies for developing total self-belief and absolute faith in your abilities to help you bust through this negative thought pattern of self-doubt. Aside from the very first episode where we looked at developing absolute clarity by crafting your vision, all of the episodes so far have looked at the things that hold us back and how to defy your limits. Today's episode is the last part of your Defy Your Limits series before we move on to look at some of the areas that will help drive you forward and create momentum to build your empire. Today's episode is all about getting out of a stuck state when it comes to making decisions. My outcome is to help you to get out of confusion, and I'm going to share a process that will help you make clear, committed decisions. But firstly, I want to define what it means to make a committed decision. Making a truly committed decision means to commit to an outcome with no road back. In other words, to cut off any other possibility other than achieving the specific result of your decision. Just like when I left the corporate world, the corporate job that I had, I burned the boats. I made the decision that the life of the entrepreneur is for me and I don't ever want to go back to having a job. Here's another example. Have you ever met someone who said they were going to quit smoking and then they didn't, or they quit for a while and they started smoking again? That is not a truly committed decision. Those who decide to quit are the ones who never smoke again. They make the commitment and stick to it. When we make a true decision, we take down the bridge. There's no going back. Can you think of a time where you made a truly committed decision and you felt that total relief once you had? We all know how great it feels to have that sense of clarity. However, I bet you can think of times where you've struggled to make a decision and perhaps you were stuck on the fence, and you can remember how frustrating that was too. Whilst indecision can rear its ugly head when you're deliberating the small stuff, it's more common when the choice you're facing is something big, a decision that you don't want to take lightly. I'm talking about those times when you've got a major decision to make that will impact the course of your business or your life, and the thoughts keep running around in circles in your mind, but you just can't seem to make any progress. This is something that I've unfortunately had very intimate experience with in the past. And the funny thing is, the personality tests say that I'm a bold and confident decision maker. And to be honest, there has been a fair amount of evidence to support this. Especially during my corporate career, I never really found myself getting mentally stuck. But then, in the corporate world, you have a very prescribed path following the game plan that's been set by the organization. When it comes to the smaller stuff, I've occasionally got stuck. For example, when deciding what to order off the menu at the restaurant, but that really comes down to a fear of missing out on a better dish. Have you ever had that experience, your partner or your friends, dish comes out and it's this huge, magnificent pile of food, and then yours comes out and it just pales in comparison. That's when you realize the power of decisions. I've also had the experience when making a significant purchase, like a new car or perhaps a holiday, where I'll just go to town on the research to make sure I'm getting the best value for my money. Often I find that all the extra research just validates my original choice, which I knew in my gut was right. Have you ever done that? Spent hours looking into something and just settled on what you first looked at? It's still not an example of sweating the big stuff. It wasn't until I started my business that I truly discovered the mentally crippling concept of indecision. In business, all decisions start and end with you, at least when you're getting started. All of a sudden, you have big questions to answer. What business should I start? Who should I target? What product or service should I launch? What should be included in my product? How should I price it? What skills do I need to focus on? How do I grow my business? What do I want to be known for in the marketplace? All of these big questions can lead to major circular thinking. So how do we commonly tackle this level of mentally draining indecision? That's right, here's what happens. Firstly, you begin the process of avoiding making the decision by looking for more information. A few hours might pass. You don't feel ready to decide, so you jump into more research. You want all the facts, right? Soon several days may pass, or worse, weeks, months, and even years, and you still can't make up your mind. The issue just keeps circling around in your head and invading your thoughts. You're looking at more and more information, and all you want to do is get focused to make progress. Have you ever been there? We all face big decisions from time to time. Unfortunately, there's a big difference between making progress towards a decision and simply having your thoughts run around circles in your mind. The fact is, indecision is just as mentally taxing as making a decision. Conscious decision-making requires the acute attention of your conscious mind, and we've only got a finite amount of mental energy each day. So when you get stuck in indecision, you're actually burning up stacks of valuable mental resources that could be better used by actually taking action on your goals instead of burning out your mental energy on circular thoughts that lead nowhere. To make matters worse, trying to make a decision whilst holding all the information only in your head, it takes up even more of that valuable mental space which you might actually need to make the decision. I'll get to how you can annihilate the problem in a moment, but first I want to shed some light on one thing, and that is, why is this happening? It's the fear of taking the wrong path. Yep, it's fear again, that pesky little thing. Anything that stands in the way of your progress in life can normally be traced back to fear. We feel that one choice might be the right one and the other the wrong one. However, this is often a mistake because your fear causes you to look at all of the potential pitfalls rather than consider all the potential opportunities and the things you stand to gain. When we peel back another layer, we find that fear in decision-making often stems from what we talked about in the previous episode, a lack of self-belief. Specifically, in this case, in your own ability to fulfill what is required once you've made the decision. However, the reality is that the fear is always worse than the action itself. I remember taking a bungee jump. I built this thing up in my mind about how horrific it was going to be. I've never been a fan of heights. But then I arrived and AC/DC were on the stereo, one of my favorite bands, and they took me up, and there was that moment of fear, but then I jumped and it was exhilarating. And when I finished, I was like, let me do the bigger one. The fear of the action is always worse than the action itself. How many times have you feared doing something and then it ended up being a total breeze? Meanwhile, while you're struggling to make a decision, no progress has been made at all, and there's no greater barrier to success than failing to take action. You will always regret inaction more than action. If we're constantly worrying about our decision, then we'll not be able to enjoy life at the level that's possible for us, and it'll always be in the back of our mind circling away. The difference in the results that people produce comes down to the quality of the decisions that they're making on a consistent basis. Whilst it's our actions that will determine whether we achieve the major things we're going after, what precedes our actions? Think about it. It's the decisions that we are making. As my mentor Tony Robbins would say, your decisions shape your destiny. Can you think of a time where if you'd made a different decision altogether, your life would be totally different from what it is today, for better or for worse? I sure can. I can think of several, from my career to my relationships to the people I've chosen as friends. Notice how every decision we make could completely alter the direction of our life. The decisions we're making right now and every day will shape not only how we feel today, but who we'll become tomorrow and what we'll do in the future. So it's no wonder we get stuck sometimes with that kind of pressure. Decision making is a skill. It takes practice, and it's important to make decisions often, big and small. Decision making is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it's just going to waste away. So let's move on and get this issue of indecision handled and get this decision making muscle in action. Are you ready? I'm going to raise the tempo here. We're going to move fast. I'm going to share some things that have worked absolute wonders for me in busting out of confusion and getting rid of circular thinking and making clear, committed decisions. Number 1, get in state. Enjoy the process. I can remember at times getting so overwhelmed by some decisions, I actually had to take a lie down. How do you think being horizontal improved my decision-making process? Not very much. Contrast that with when you put yourself in a state of absolute certainty and total expectation that the answers are simply going to come through you. This is what I call the unstoppable state. Stay tuned for episode 5, the next episode, because I'll be sharing with you how you can use your body and mind to tap into your power and develop the state of being absolutely unstoppable. For now, let's keep it simple. Stand up, put your shoulders back, hold your head high, breathe deeply, put yourself in warrior mode. And think of a time where you're just crushing it. You're on fire. Your decisions were effortless. This is what I mean about getting in state. This is the mode that you want to face your most pressing decisions from. We've all had those moments where we feel totally powerful and our decisions are effortless. That's where we need to be. Got it? Right. Number 2, set an immediate deadline on your decision. Procrastination is the silent killer of progress. You know when you've been holding on to a decision for too long. So let's set an immediate deadline on it. And what I mean is within a few hours at most. Don't put it off for the weekend or next week. You need to get this handled now. To give you an example of this, I recently had an important decision I needed to make, and I sent my accountability buddy, Miles, a text, and I said, I need to get a decision made by 5 p.m. today. I think it was about 4:15 in the afternoon on a Saturday. Talk about giving the poor guy some notice and interrupting his weekend. I said, I need you to coach me through this. And we did, and he helped me untangle my thoughts, and it took us until close to 6 p.m. or perhaps even later, but it was a heck of a lot better than stewing on it for a weekend or even longer. So set a deadline. It's time to get certain. Ask yourself, what are the consequences of not making a decision right now? What will you miss out on if you do not make a decision now? What are you already missing out on? There's nothing like a bit of FOMO to speed up the process. That's fear of missing out for those of you not down with the kids. Remember what I was saying about the meals in the restaurant earlier? Step 3, write the problem down. Here's why. When you ask yourself a question at the same time seeking the answers, they actually collide in your mind, and it makes it very difficult to come up with the answers. This also gets your thoughts off your mind and onto a piece of paper. You'll be conserving your mental energy and freeing up your resources for the actual decision-making process. Next thing is to consider what question you're actually trying to answer. Be specific. When you ask a better question, you get a better answer. And sometimes your decision might have multiple parts, so avoid asking multiple questions in one. Separate the questions and establish what order they need to be dealt with in to make a decision. Once you've done this, the first thing I want you to notice is, how important is the decision really? And be honest. Don't sweat the small stuff. Decide and move on. If this is important, let's move on to step 4. Step 4, expand the question. Here we're going to expand on the question to help you chunk down and come to a decision. The reason I challenge you on the importance of the decision is because there is a key principle that will radically shift the quality of your decisions. That is to align your decision making with your vision, your long-term focus. When you're absolutely clear on what's most important to you over the long term, your decision making should be in alignment with this big picture view. If you haven't figured this out yet, go back to episode 1 to craft your vision. There is a quick process that you can go through that may actually eliminate the need for you to go through the next steps. I call it collapsing the timeline. If you had 1 week to make your mark or 1 week to live, what would you do? What decision would you make? When we collapse our timeline in this way, it acts as a filter to help us focus on what's really most important. Never assume that you're going to live forever when making decisions. If you're still not sure, then let's keep going. Are you still in state? Stay strong. I've got 5 questions for you that will help you reach your decision. I've got 5 questions for you that will really help you to reach your decision. Number 1, what is the result or outcome that you want the most? What's most important to you? Number 2, what are all the options to move ahead? Number 3, what are the pros or upsides of each option? What will you gain by choosing those specific paths? Number 4, what are the cons or downsides of each option? What will you lose out on by choosing a path? Number 5, who else will be impacted by your decision? And how important is that to your overall decision? Do you need to seek their perspective? Thank you to Marie Forleo for a little help with these questions. You may need some additional information to help you answer these questions. Be clear, though, on the type and extent of information that will help you make the decision. Use what I call the minimum effective volume of information to avoid overwhelm and to ensure you're not going to prolong the decision. When you figure out what information you need, if it's not immediately available, set a specific time to look for it. It could be Monday morning at 8 o'clock, but stay within the decision deadline. By doing this, you'll be able to put the issue aside, and having completed this process, you'll have done all the thinking you need. So in the meantime, every time your mind suggests bringing a decision back, remember you're advancing towards your decision and you've got a deadline that you're working towards. Step 5, you guessed it, is make the decision. And I've got a few principles that I'll share with you to help you a little bit further. Number 1 is to trust your instinct. Go with your heart over your head. We have much less to lose than our mind would actually admit. And if we ignore our misplaced anxieties, it will be easier to follow new choices without concerning ourselves about whether it was the right choice. Number 2 is to make the decision to be happy with your choice no matter what, and don't look back. There's no such thing as a perfect decision. Number 3 is to take action in the moment of decision. That will get you committed. And number 4, do stay committed to the decision, but be flexible in your approach and be open to learning from the decision. In closing, I challenge you to prove to yourself that you're ready to decide. Make 1 or 2 decisions right now that you've been putting off. One could be a simple decision, the other could be something more important. Make the commitment and take the action in the moment of your decision right now. My outcome for this episode was to help you to bust through the confusion, and I hope I've served you well throughout this session. To help you, I've put all of these steps in the show notes over at unstoppablepodcast.com/decision. So be sure to head on over, download the questions, and share the decisions that you've made as a result of this episode and join in with the conversation. Please remember to subscribe on iTunes to make sure you receive the full 10-part series. And while you're there, I'll be hugely grateful if you would leave a 5-star review to help spread the word. Finally, if you're an entrepreneur or you're looking to start your own business and you find that indecision is holding you back from unleashing your greatness, then why not hop on a call with me and we can break through the uncertainty and get you sprinting towards your goals on the other side of decision. Go to unstoppablepodcast.com/strategy session and sign up for your free 40-minute session with me. The next episode of this 10-part series is the one that I am absolutely most excited about. I'll be sharing how to get in the unstoppable state of mind and being. From this state of absolute power, you'll be able to defy all of your limits and take bold steps to becoming unstoppable in business and life. Episode 5 is available right now, so if you're ready to rock and roll, buckle up. I'll see you in a few moments. If not, until next time, live without limits. Get ready to be unstoppable.